You're watching Local 4, home of ClickOnDetroit.com. WDIV Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
Time for an overhaul.
But frankly, my view of it is progress.
The Motor City's financial engine has sputtered out, leading to a Chapter 9 bankruptcy filing.
But if you look at it, there's no other viable option.
Yes, there is worry, but there is also among some a sense of optimism that's always been a part of Detroit's DNA.
I think when you go inside, it doesn't look like bankruptcy.
Tonight, big questions about who gets hit hardest, how this impacts our image, and why it's come to this. It's all tonight in this special extended edition of Local 4 News at 11. Good evening. We're glad you're with us. No matter how you feel about today's events, know that they are indeed historic.
Yeah, no city this size has ever filed for municipal bankruptcy, so we are in uncharted territory tonight. The electronic filing came at around 4 o'clock this afternoon in federal court. The actual request is 16 pages long, and we've posted it all for you to read at ClickOnDetroit.com. First things first, a judge will have to approve the request, but that could eventually provide the clean slate that is needed to resolve $18 billion in debt. Now, if all were to go as planned, and that's a big if, the process could be completed by summer or fall of next year. Shortly after Emergency Manager Kevin Orr's joint news conference with Mayor Dave Bing today, he came here to our Local 4 studios. He and I sat down and I had a chance to ask him about the mistakes of the past and his role in steering Detroit out of this financial crisis. If it stung you to learn Detroit had filed for bankruptcy, Kevin Orr doesn't exactly feel your pain. That's not because he's not sympathetic or because he's not a native Detroiter. It's because it's just business, and he feels it's the best business for Detroit.
But I understand it. I understand a lot of people look at it and have concerns, but frankly, my view of it is progress. This is something that we've got to do one way or the other. We have $18 billion of debt. We only have $1 billion a year in revenue. We've got to address this problem. How long will it take? Orr says a likely timetable to emerge from bankruptcy might be the fall of 2014. But we didn't get here overnight. The governor said that he's continued to say that this is a problem that goes back 60 years. Sure. And I know that there is a hesitancy to affix blame. But do you feel like there were decisions made much more recently than that could have avoided all of this? Devin, actually, before I came here, I looked at some of your reports and some of the others, and you know there were. Some of the behavior that occurred in prior administrations was not only scandalous but criminal. And still, the reverberations of some of the neglect and conduct is still being felt. The opportunities that were missed to steal with some of these dishes. Our reporting suggests the Kilpatrick administration ran up about $2 billion in credit debt. That is not necessarily inaccurate. There was a lot of debt and a lot of payments that were made through that process. But the reason I say I don't want to look back and attribute blame, because even if I did, so what? For some time, Orr has weathered the complaints that his very presence is an affront to democracy. He disputes that, seeing Detroit just like any other enterprise that can't cover its debts. Some have argued the city just needed more time to fix its own leaky roof, but Orr doesn't buy that. You had an opportunity in November 2011 when you negotiated a consent agreement. You had an opportunity from then until March 2013 this year to comply with 21 points in the consent agreement. Not one of them was met. So receiverships are quite common in common law and in our law, and this is just a receivership. That full conversation with Kevin Orr coming up Sunday morning at 10 on Flashpoint. Now, of course, he was appointed to be the city's emergency manager, but the city leaders who were elected also have a lot to say tonight. Yeah, our Hank Winchester is live with reaction from City Hall and also on the city's image tonight. And Hank, it wasn't long ago the word Detroit might make you think of 8 Mile. Tonight, it's Chapter 9.
Yeah, Ruth, Devin, no doubt about it. A hard day for Detroit and everybody involved, but you talk with the mayor, you talk with Kevin Orr, and also leaders up there with City Council, and they will all tell you, although today is difficult, Detroit is bound to come back.
This is a very, very difficult day for me, as I'm sure it is for a lot of our citizens here in the city of Detroit.
Mayor Dave Bing speaking out on what is a historic yet sad day for the city. The mayor saying he wasn't shocked by the filing, but says right now he wants to reassure Detroiters the city is not closing down.
I really didn't want to go in this direction, but now that we are here, we have to make the best of it.
Many city leaders knew this day was coming. They just didn't know when this was all going down.
Through all of this, I want to reassure the citizens that we will still have a city to operate. Things won't shut down right now. Police, fire, DPS, all of our services will continue to go forward, and they won't stop just because of this announcement right here.
The city will keep running. Life will go on as Detroit rebuilds. But yes, once again, Detroit is making news for all the wrong reasons. PR strategist and former City Hall insider Bob Berg says this could be the first step in rebuilding Detroit's image.
We've been getting bad public relations for so long. I mean, this could be maybe now we've hit bottom and we can start back up. If it can be resolved quickly, if they can work through it, come up with a resolution that preserves basic city services, maybe even starts the city back on a path to building them back up, it can be a plus in the long run.
For now, though, the focus on the city and the people affected by this move. The mayor confident Detroit will emerge stronger.
This is very difficult for all of us, but if it's going to make the citizens better off, then this is a new start for us.
And let's hope so. Mayor Dave Bing made it clear from day one he wasn't hot on the idea of the appointment of the emergency financial manager and also the idea of bankruptcy, but said today, bottom line, this is where we are right now, and he says he's committed to doing whatever is necessary to help move Detroit forward. We're live here tonight downtown. Hank Winchester, back to you.
All right, Hank, thanks.
Still ahead now, we're going to get very unique perspectives of two women who made their marks on Detroit, former City Council member Sheila Cockrell and also the current City Council President Sontil Jenkins. They're here for a very frank discussion this evening about life in Chapter 9 for the city we love.
Now, local business and community leaders also being very vocal this evening about this filing this afternoon.
And while it seems like maybe a dark day for the city, a lot of people are shining a positive light on today's announcement.
It's not about just a Detroit mentality, it's about the entire Tri-County area and bigger in terms of state and country. But I think we're too strong to let this be a blip in our history that will not be a positive change.
I think there's an incredible energy in Detroit right now, and I really don't think there's anything that can stop us. I think, you know, there's a neighborhood that's been here for 100 years. Nothing is going to change that. It's going to be here for 100 more years.
It's all good. People are still moving into the city. The Midtown area is booming. That's not going to change it.
Now, the White House issued a statement today about the bankruptcy filing, and it reads in part, while leaders on the ground in Michigan and the city's creditors understand that they must find a solution to Detroit's serious financial challenge, we remain committed to continuing our strong partnership with Detroit as it works to recover and revitalize and maintain its status as one of America's great cities. From Keith Maley, spokesperson at the White House.
Of course, the buzz, the talk had been building for the last 2 weeks that filing was coming in short order.
Interestingly, we were expecting it to occur tomorrow. Then our Mara McDonald got the text and broke the story this afternoon on what is the largest municipal bankruptcy filing ever. She's live downtown tonight. Mara, a ton of activity going on behind the scenes today.
That's right, Devin, and the bottom line on the behind the scenes is this. Sources in Lansing telling me at the end of the day, it was the governor who sat there and said, enough, it's time to file.
Let's stop. Detroit is broke.
It's the position not a single governor in decades has wanted to be in, putting an EM into Detroit, where for years the finances have languished based on bad decisions and a political class that wouldn't do what needed to be done. Detroit's situation was DEFCON 4 before the tough nerd took office, but he's the one who said enough.
This was the right thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do because, again, we need to stop Detroit going downhill, and this is a way to do it.
Sources in Lansing told us Chapter 9 was a near certainty when Snyder made the move to appoint an EM. The city was already completely insolvent with no way to borrow more, but the possibility existed that creditors would see reason and play ball. And some did, like Bank of America and Merrill Lynch just this week. And then Detroit's two pension boards sued the governor and Orr in a move that experts told us was nothing but a stall, which would serve to do nothing but ratchet up the legal fees.
Really, there's been an effort or refusal on the part of so many people involved in the process to really face up to the problems.
Sources with intimate knowledge of the process tell us it was that filing that had the governor instruct Orr it was time. Detroit electronically filed Chapter 9 at 4:01 today. Back here alive, bottom line behind the scenes with the people who are calling the shots here is this. My sources in Lansing say the governor's attitude and those of his top advisors is that if we have to do this, if we are forced to do this, we are going to get the best people in here, the people with the most expertise who can make a difference. Failure to them at this point is simply not an option. We're live downtown. Mara McDonald, Local 4.
Mara, we heard the one woman out on the street. We did a series of person on the street interviews in the last story there, and she said, oh, don't worry about it because we have all of these people moving into the city now and Midtown is booming, etc. One wonders what effect this will have on that's happening.
You know, I talked to Brooks Patterson about that and Mark Hackle, and their attitude is this: while they're worried about their bond ratings, they say, look, for the first time in a very long time, this city has the chance to erase a mountain of debt. It can come out of this better and stronger. The real question, Ruth, becomes this: when Kevin Orr says bye-bye, what's the elected leadership going to do? That really will be the story.
Yeah, he talked about that this evening quite a bit. His own calendar is running on how long he's allowed to be here, and that had a lot to do with this filing today as well. All right, Mara McDonald reporting from downtown Detroit. Mara. Now, with any bankruptcy filing comes the potential of a broken promise, or potentials.
Yeah, the pensions that so many city workers had counted on and were told were safe are now up in the air. Local 4's Roger Weber has been speaking with some retirees who are affected by today's filing. Roger?
This one's Bob. He's a Percheron thoroughbred. That's why he's so big. He's a Tennessee Walker.
Ken and Linda Peltier live on a farm in Milford. They love their retirement, but worry that their lives may change dramatically. Both of them are former Detroit police officers.
Everybody's living in fear right now of what's going to happen. Fear of the uncertainty.
What's it like for you?
Terrifying.
If today's bankruptcy filing is approved by the courts, the couple's pensions could be cut. By how much, they don't know.
We paid into that pension. That is something that was given to us. We paid a percentage of our wages every year into that. So it's not something that's being given to us. It's our money.
I joined the department, took a lesser wage than I might have earned in a private industry. Because we got a pension at the end, I felt I would be secure and safe at the end and have a pension and medical.
Linda was a commander with 26 years on the force. Ken was a sergeant. He put in 30 years. Police work was always unpredictable, but they always thought they could count on their pensions.
The pension board was always there, and they always said we'll have plenty of money.
Retired police officers do not get Social Security. Linda has another financial issue, collecting on deferred pay and unused sick time.
And I'm due about $160,000 from the city that I haven't been paid yet. Nor can I get a status on it when I call the city, nor can the union get anybody to talk to us about it.
Now, with pensions and medical coverage in limbo, their secure way of life may soon come to an end.
It depends on how much it's cut. It's going to be hard. And if they cut it enough, no, we'd end up have to sell this place and horses and everything else and move.
Like thousands of other City of Detroit retirees, all the Peltiers can do now is wait and wonder about how those final pension figures will affect them for the rest of their lives. In Milford, I'm Roger Weber, Local 4.
All right, Roger, unlikely some time before we can see with any kind of definition exactly that part of this story. Now, news of Detroit's bankruptcy filing spread like wildfire across the country today.
Yeah, it was indeed the big story on most major national news websites within minutes of that filing. For instance, the New York Times was among the first highlighting the city's overwhelming debt, and here is the homepage of USA Today after the news broke here in Detroit.
CNN featured the story focusing on the future of, as Roger's story just did, pension benefits for city workers and retirees, and even the Drudge Report made it the featured story this afternoon. Right now on our website at clickondetroit.com, you can read the bankruptcy filing itself and also learn more about what we've learned so far about how the process is likely to work.
And you can see how leaders and the people of Metro Detroit are reacting. It's all right there on the homepage at Click on Detroit.
All right, still ahead, our bankruptcy coverage will continue with an in-depth look at what led to this mess tonight.
Our business editor, Rod Maloney, is going to show you why the blame must be shared among a lot of folks. Plus, patience pays off for a very brave Metro Detroit young woman waiting for a long time for a gift from a total stranger. You're about to meet her. She suddenly has new hope for a bright future after a 10-year health crisis.
And a tragic end to the search for a Dearborn store clerk who disappeared from a murder scene at her workplace. We'll have the latest on that next.
It's fresh, and it's all happening
on Local 4 News Morning when you wake up.
We wrap up a week of keeping you cool on Local 4 News Morning. On Friday, keeping your pets safe in this weather. Overheating is only one of the problems they face. We've got solutions starting at 4:30.
Then stay tuned for the Today Show following Local 4 News Morning.
Well, more tragedy in Dearborn. The Family Dollar store employee missing since Monday was found this morning dead. The body of Brenna Mackus was discovered near the area of TPC Golf Course and the Rouge River. She was abducted Monday night after her co-worker Joe Orlando was shot and killed at the store. The police are searching for the man seen walking into the store right before those crimes happened. A $12,500 reward is offered now for information leading to an arrest.
Sterling Heights police need your help in identifying an armed and violent robber tonight. Take a look at this surveillance video from the Zaz gas station. That's at 15 Mile and Mound. After entering and then leaving, the robber came back and put a chokehold on the clerk, forced him to open the cash register. The clerk is in stable condition after being pistol whipped in the head. If you recognize the man or know anything about this crime, Sterling Heights police would like to hear from you.
Quicken Loans founder Dan Gilbert reportedly has some big plans for the new unfinished Wayne County Jail and also the surrounding buildings. Gilbert's Rock Ventures is expected now to bid for the jail site at Gratiot and Madison and to offer to buy the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice plus nearby jails and juvenile detention centers. The plan is to redevelop the 15-acre site into a mixed-use development with very heavy emphasis on entertainment.
Detroit's Chapter 9 bankruptcy filing will undoubtedly have a ripple effect throughout Metro Detroit as well.
Yeah, and tonight leaders from Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne counties are all speaking out about this historic decision.
Oakland County Executive L. Brooks Patterson issued this statement today. It reads, "This bankruptcy is unfortunate but predictable. The hole was too deep, and now a lot of good people who were not involved with the bad decisions will now have to pay the price." Local 4 cameras also caught up with Robert Ficano and Mark Hackle earlier today.
What you get worried about are the people. Someone with a pension 30 years ago was told that they were made a promise, and now are they simply going to have that pension disappear? Like I said, the banks and financial institutions, even through a bankruptcy, probably is going to survive one way or another. It's the people that are, depending on those pensions, health care, that kind of thing. That's really part of the damage that's going to be done here.
A lot of uncertainty, and that's going to be somewhat of a question, but at least there's certainty that now there's a new direction for the city of Detroit, and the decision's been made. So that's all we can do is try to be supportive, and again, if there's residents here that need support on our behalf, we're going to have to figure out what it is we can do for them.
Well, Detroit's massive financial disaster has certainly been no secret.
We've spent a lot of time over the past couple of years debating whether the problem is as bad as claimed and exactly who was at fault, but the real question tonight is how did we get here?
And for some answers now, let's turn to our Local 4 business editor, Rod Maloney.
We failed. We did not police ourselves.
There is no one person responsible for Detroit's troubles. It's vacant and decaying housing, it's boarded up businesses, it's bloated bureaucracy. Former Detroit bankruptcy judge Ray Reynolds-Graves says this was a long-term team effort.
We, as voters, have failed to discipline our elected public officials. We were very glad to ride the gravy train as long as everybody could borrow more money and keep this thing going. Now we have to face the fact that those were all bad decisions.
In the early 80s, Mayor Coleman Young found the city on the edge of Chapter 9, and rather than restructure then, he came up with the city income tax. Well, the city's taxed out now. Mayor Dennis Archer opted not to battle the unions on concessions. Convicted felon and former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick broke out the city's credit cards, and not just for himself. In his time as mayor, he racked up more than $2 billion borrowed, including more than $1 billion against the city's pension funds. Mayor Dave Bing was no shrinking violet in that department either. He racked up $1/3 of $1 billion in debt. What did those mayors buy? Mostly labor peace.
All too often, the city has been the employer of first resort. And you keep expanding the city to have jobs to give to your political cronies.
Turnaround consultant Larry Gardner says as things deteriorated, more than 1 million people, white and black, fled the city.
And when you have a population that's exiting, and you have more people collecting benefits than you do coming back to replenish the system, you know, mathematically, it doesn't work.
Detroiters pay the highest taxes in the state, yet get the worst services. Cash-strapped, Detroit went after business then for money.
It was like trying to run through a picket fence, you know, in terms of linebackers coming at you in hordes. And it was just too hard to navigate through this to make an impact, and people gave up. That's part of the problem.
That's our Rod Maloney reporting. So there is a lot to process here, so we've brought in some help.
Yeah, with us live right now, our Detroit City Council President, Santil Jenkins, the former City Councilwoman Sheila Cockrell, and our very own Mara McDonald, who broke the news of today's Chapter 11 filing and has covered this story for months now. Thanks to all of you for being here. I want to start with a statement that we received today. This is from the Detroit Firefighters Association this afternoon, and it reads in part, "It is a shame that now we will have to be in front of a bankruptcy judge when all along we have been expecting to have meaningful meetings with emergency manager Kevin Orr. These meetings never occurred." And then they go on to say they're meeting tomorrow to form a coalition of city workers to present a restructuring plan to the city leaders. But then they end with this: Detroit's firefighters will continue to protect and serve during this difficult time, regardless of the economic challenges. You can count on us. And that, when it arrived today, it really touched my heart. It really did. And I wanted to start with that because I know all of you have opinions about what's happening now to all the city workers and their pensions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad it ended with that, because that still has to be the focus, that there are more than 700,000 people in the city of Detroit who deserve to be served by police, by fire, by EMS, by all city workers. And the fact of the matter is, we've not had the resources to provide services that people deserve. And this is a step towards us gaining those resources and providing a better quality of life.
Mm-hmm. These are, like, you know, really the heroes. I mean, these are the people who sacrifice every day, and they really could be getting the very short end of the stick here.
Well, yes, but I also think it's important to note that it was the Detroit Firefighters Union that led the effort to get rid of residency in the state of Michigan. I mean, and there have been ongoing issues. You know, Public Act 312 bargaining has been the framework where the many issues between the management of the city and the firefighters have been playing out. But what's important here, not to be pointing fingers, because that's a waste of time. The negotiations between Mr. Orr and the unions need to continue. He made it clear he's open to doing that, and it is really a powerful and wonderful statement, like you said, that Dan made when he said we're here.
Also in that statement, though, Mara, we can see the roadmap of where the first arguments come. They're going to argue because the eligibility portion, as we move into whether or not the city can really file bankruptcy, they have to. Kevin Orr has to be able to argue that he tried in good faith to make these, arrive at these agreements. They're clearly saying here that he didn't do that.
Well, Devin, come on. That statement is disingenuous. To suggest that the emergency manager didn't sit down with the heads of the fire union, the police union, the command staff is absurd, okay? Absurd.
We're a little ways down the road for that. Yeah.
You know, come on, everybody. There have been a myriad of discussions, and I think everybody has made their opinions and their feelings on where they stand on things quite clear. You know, come on, everybody. Let's stop the "well, nobody talked to us" thing, and let's also consider this. The agreement that Orr reached with Bank of America, Merrill, UBS, which also means that the city will now get $11 million a month in that casino revenue that was questionable. That $11 million, I mean, it's not just a source thing. They'll flat out say that's going to go towards restructuring. And what's the first thing they're going to do? Put it towards police, put it towards fire.
Terribly important, but Council President Jenkins, what the unions are going to say is that's a lot better deal. Yes, the big banks are getting taken care of. You don't have money to give anybody even 50 cents on the dollar, much less 75 cents on the dollar. How come we're not getting a deal like that?
Well, the reality is, unless you're at the table willing to negotiate, you can't get any deal. You have to be willing to negotiate to walk away with a deal, and that's what Bank of America did. That's what Merrill Lynch did. That's what I was hoping police and fire would do. I was hoping that all of the retirees, the unions, would come to the table and negotiate in good faith. And I believe some have been there, but not in the numbers we need.
You know, also, I wanted to mention, you know, all the people who are living here in Detroit, they have been very concerned about their city services, and today the President Pro Tem said, don't worry, it's all going to continue, you know, it'll be better soon. But I wonder, you know, is there any chance that there might be some kind of a disruption in that, or that things are not going to improve very quickly regarding that?
No, I think that we will see improvements very soon. I mean, just the fact that we will have $11 million a month in new revenues that are coming to the city, that in itself will help us show some improvements. We will see some improvements soon.
And Mr. Orr has said his plan is to put $1.25 billion in rebuilding, re-engineering the city's service delivery system. That's technology that works, vehicles that work, mechanics that actually get things repaired. It means we're going to get back to the point where you have reliable public safety services. That is an absolute, flat-out minimum standard.
He is stacking Detroiters ahead of some of the creditors.
Yes,
there's no doubt about that.
Okay,
but
well,
he
that's
was
good,
also
because people are very, very upset and say, hey, we've heard all this before.
Absolutely.
But as much as we've talked about this was a problem 60 years in the making, he was also critical of current government. He pointed out that the consent agreement, which you all agreed to, you had a year and a half to live up to 21 different components that were in there, and you didn't live up to one of them, as he said tonight.
Well, that's not quite true. We signed the consent agreement in April of last year, and Orr came in March. So it wasn't even a full year. But did we move as quickly as we should have? No, absolutely not. The city did not move as quickly as it should have, and nor did the state. There were things in the consent agreement that both parties were supposed to do that we did not move quickly on.
But I also think that the council president is being gracious when she says this, because there were people on that council who wanted to move quickly and wanted to move now. I mean, you know, she was one of them. I covered the meetings. I saw who was there. You know, well, let's listen. It's filed, okay?
Right.
Let's all sit here and tell the truth. I cover those meetings. I know who stood there like a roadblock saying no, 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 and the people are like, well, we got to do something. Come on.
Well, it was, though. I know, Sheila, you've had I think in some ways your position on Kevin Orr has evolved a bit. Not on Kevin Orr himself, but on the idea of an emergency manager coming in. We've all had a great deal of discomfort with it's a usurpation, there's no doubt about it, of citizens' rights, of elected officials like those on council and in the mayor's office. But I think that you've become a believer of Kevin Orr's.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what was crystal clear to me when I left in 2009 that this was the Titanic, that it had hit, it had broken up, it was on the bottom, and it was not going to come up unless there was a major complete alteration. And the bottom line is we are out of money. It's time for everybody to get their head out of the sand, to stop all of these other extraneous conversations. The city's going to run out of money by the end of December if something radical isn't done. It's now time to come together and literally rebuild the city. The city's motto says it all. We are going to rebuild ourselves from the ashes of this fiscal crisis. That's the important message.
Okay, and as that phoenix rises from the ashes, we're really blazing a new trail. We've had smaller cities, you know, file for bankruptcy, never a huge city like this. The whole world is going to be watching to see what happens.
And we have the right person leading this. Kevin Orr is extraordinarily talented, and I mean, I heard him say it, I meet aggression with aggression. So my thing to anybody is, if you get in his way, be ready. You are in for a fight.
Last question, though, and I'll let each of you weigh in on this. What happens to turnout now in this very important election? Does everybody think, well, elected officials don't matter, or does everybody become more engaged?
That's a great question, and I hope people become more engaged, because at the other side of this bankruptcy, if we don't have good, fiscally responsible leadership in place, then we'll end up right back here years down the line.
All right. Well, thank you so kindly, all of you, for being here. Mara, you're always here.
Seems that way, doesn't it?
But I think that was a very good discussion, and certainly there are many, many more questions and many more answers, and a lot of things will be revealed and will unfold as we go, certainly.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Karen.
All right.
Still ahead tonight, it has been touch and go for 10 years now as a local mom battles a debilitating disease.
Yeah, but now she's just hours from a procedure that's already giving her some new hope. Her very remarkable story of bravery and patience is just ahead. Chuck, what about that weather forecast?
I'm Chuck Gatica. Excessive heat warning continues until 8 o'clock Friday night, but then the weekend brings relief. We've got more on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Another hot, humid day, and if you were with us last night,
yes,
Crazy Chuck, the guy who runs Crazy Chuck's Emporium,
it's Christmas in July.
Yes, gave us a choice.
Well, here was the thing. So take a look at this. This is what we were talking about last night. If you could make it Christmas in July, I don't mean to buy a car or a washer and dryer or a sofa. We've got hot and sticky summer weather now. What if you could make it colder for just a day? I asked people to go to Click on Detroit and let us know. So here's tomorrow's forecast. What if you could take that day and make it look like Christmas in July, and it would be like this for just a day.
21 snowy.
The viewers have spoken. What do you think?
I thought people would take 1 day of winter.
1 day of winter?
I wanted winter, but I thought they'd take summer.
60% said we want 1 day of cold. 40% said keep it summer. Isn't that so? Yeah, there you go. Hey, oh, I'm still on. Where am I going?
I hang out at Crazy Chuck's, I knew.
Don't forget, come on down. All right, let's talk about numbers now. 84 degrees, 72% relative humidity, partly cloudy skies. Where am I going? All right, let's talk a little bit about what we've got going on right now. We still have the excessive heat warning. This was extended to 8 o'clock tomorrow night. That's all of southeast lower Michigan. You know it's excessively warm. It's going to stay that way. You factor in the humidity, it feels even warmer. It's going to stay that way through tomorrow and early Saturday. But we've got another problem brewing out ahead of what we will call the relieving cold front. That is powerful thunderstorms for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. Current temps now 81 for City Airport. Pontiac, you're at 83 degrees. Ann Arbor's at 77. There's Monroe at 84. And then you factor in the humidity, it feels a lot closer to 90 for a lot of folks right now. So it's just air that's lazily just laying there in the atmosphere. Another warm one tonight. Tomorrow we go from steamy to stormy, and for your weekend, cooler air builds in, but it doesn't get here really. You won't feel it until late Saturday into Sunday. Tomorrow's risk for severe weather. Heavy rain, high. Likely it's just coming. Lightning, the risk is high. Flooding, moderate to high risk. Hail, moderate, and even tornadoes, a low risk. This is going to be a situation where we could see some training of thunderstorms one after another, and all this moisture is hanging in the air, and if we wring out that sponge, there's a lot going on. There's a cold front out ahead of it, an upper level disturbance coming in. The winds in the upper levels and mid levels of the atmosphere going pretty good. If we can tap any of that with the thunderstorms, bring it down to the ground, that could create some gusty and damaging winds. That's out ahead of the front. That's at 9 o'clock. So they'll start to pop up in the afternoon, increase toward evening, continue for a while, and then into Saturday there's a secondary cold front. That itself could trigger a shower, but that's not the big deal. It's really the air that's coming in behind that cold front. The wind shifts to the northwest. We shift gears. We get cooler, at least for a little bit. So tonight, we're not there yet. 77. Hot and humid air, light breezes. Tomorrow, it also gets windy at the surface. Look at this. We haven't had this for a while. Southwest at 15 to 25, pumping the temperature up to 95. Thunderstorms developing. Those clouds will billow. They'll grow. We get thunder and lightning. And then watch as we head for your weekend. High temperatures go up and stay up for a little while. Saturday, 88. But by the time we hit Sunday, it's 78 with lows in the 60s. So it's not quite Christmas in July, but it will cool off.
Feel that way.
Yeah, a little bit.
62.
You can bring me a present anyway.
Yeah. Okay,
well, that's what it was about.
She sounds like me on my birthday.
On your birthday, right.
Which is getting close.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Chuck.
Thanks, Doug.
It's a life-saving transplant 10 years in the making.
It's huge.
Now this local mom has new hope for a bright future thanks to a bone marrow donor she'll probably never meet. Stop and think for a moment about what you were doing 10 years ago.
Long time ago. That's how long, by the way, that Tara Revan has been fighting a deadly disease and waiting for a bone marrow transplant. Our Dr. Frank McGeorge is here now with Tara's story of patience and persistence and hope.
Try and get me.
We first introduced you to Tara Revan in 2004. She looked like a healthy mom playing with her then 7-year-old son. But Tara was just beginning her battle with a deadly disease.
I pray every night with him before he goes to bed. I look at him, it's just absolutely overwhelming how much I love him. My biggest fear is to have my son grow up without a mom.
Tara's illness is called myelodysplastic syndrome. So this is a disease of her bone marrow where she's not making enough cells, not making the right kind of cells. This can go on to develop into an acute leukemia.
Tara's best chance at survival, a bone marrow transplant, if she can find a match.
I'm Korean, I'm adopted, so all of my family members are Caucasian, so I have no known blood relatives.
With no family match, Tara turned to the Be the Match registry. But of those listed,
6% of them were Asian, and your best match is somebody that's your ethnicity. So there's a great need for minority donors to get onto the registry.
Determined to live for her son, Tara focused on staying alive and growing the registry.
I decided to do bone marrow drives everywhere. Every single Korean church, every single college campus.
A few years back, Tara did find a match in a stranger, but the person changed their mind.
It was devastating.
Fast forward to today. Tara is still living with the disease, but it's becoming more difficult.
Just as of recently, my health has been deteriorating, so a lot of my counts have been dropping dramatically and frequently.
Fearful that her condition could worsen, Tara and her doctor made a decision.
We think we have our best chance of curing her right now in terms of curing her with a transplant.
So they checked the registry again for a match.
We found a donor. It's huge, especially after waiting for 10 years.
But the wait is finally over. Friday, Tara will get her gift of life, a bone marrow transplant from a stranger.
I do know my donor is a 35-year-old male, and that's pretty much all I can know. This guy, somewhere in the world, is taking time out of his day for somebody he does not even know. He has no strings attached to me, and he's going to help save my life.
Dr. Joseph Huberti is an oncologist at Carmanos Cancer Center. He says everyone could do something that might keep patients like Tara from waiting 10 years for a transplant.
It's very frustrating. We know that if we can increase the donor registry, if we have more donors available, we give people a chance of cure.
People like Tara who have so much to live for, including her now 17-year-old son.
Because I want to see him graduate, and now I'm like, you know what, I might just have that chance.
Now, Tara gets her marrow transplant tomorrow at Carmanos Cancer Center. The key to helping people like Tara is getting people to join the registry. All it takes is just a soft swab from your cheek. And if you are a match, saving someone's life is as painless as a quick blood donation. Please consider going to the health page at clickondetroit.com for the link to the Be the Match registry. I'm Dr. Frank McGeorge. Back to you.
Oh, I love that story.
And when you talk to Tara in
So
person,
beautiful.
she is just so vibrant but so committed and passionate about not just helping herself, but helping so many other people that are in this situation. And we are thinking about you tonight, Tara.
We
Godspeed tomorrow. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow night. Who needs the X Games? Something much bigger is headed to Detroit, the Winter Classic.
I want to get everybody thinking hockey.
Tomorrow night at 11, our Jamie Edmonds is suiting up with the Spartans for a little hockey lesson. Let the countdown begin. The Winter Classic is just 5 months away. Get ready tomorrow night at 11. There's your one-day winner.
She can skate.
She's a very serious skater.
She's an athlete.
Yeah.
All right, we do have some sports actually.
Is there?
Tonight. Yeah, there's a little bit to talk about tonight. Coming up, a Papa Grande update.
Oh.
Yeah, he's still around. Some important dates for Lions fans. You may want to write these down. And today, the first day of the British Open, Tiger is in the hunt for his 15th major. That's all coming up.
Great bogey putt over.
Well, now that's going on in the world of sports. So a rare lead story this evening.
Because there's no Major League Baseball. I got to tell you, I'm a little upset by this. I want to get this off my chest. If you don't mind, bear with me. Could you folks join me right over here for a couple minutes? Yes. Go for it. What's up with no Major League Baseball again tonight? We haven't had a real game since last Sunday. The All-Star game was on Tuesday. It's not like this is 1947 and the Dodgers have to take the train back to L.A. AAA had their All-Star game last night, okay? They're back to a regular schedule already tonight. Major leaguers, let's get it together. So, for probably the only time this season, the Toledo Mud Hens make the lead story. Tonight against Buffalo. Recognize that closer for the Mud Hens? Oh, yeah, Papa Grande. Jose Valverde comes in to get the save. Big strikeout on the 9th. And the Mud Hens beat Buffalo 4-2. Tomorrow, the Major Leaguers come back. Oh, I hope they're rested. First round of the British Open, any golfer knows sometimes the game feels easy. Sometimes it's just not worth trying. For Zach Johnson today, things came easily. Here for birdie. He shot a 5-under par 66. That's no problem, right in the middle. He's got a one-shot lead. Tiger Woods in the bunker says, I won't stand for this. No, really, I won't stand for this. I have to kneel down on one leg. He does put it close, makes par, saves his round, 2-under 69. And for others, it was a struggle. Poor Rory McIlroy. A monster putt from way down front of the green. I think he hit it too hard. But what's the worst that could happen? I mean, it could go off the back edge, and then I guess it could keep going and into the rough, and I guess possibly it could go down into the bunker. He shot a 79, putted right off the green. He had no fun at all today.
It just sort of got away from me. It's strange. I mean, I wish I could stand up here and tell you guys what's wrong or what I need to do to make it right, because I feel like I've got the shots. It's just a matter of going through the right thought process to hit them.
That network shoots a news conference with an iPhone. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Football fans, hang on. Lions training camp opens up next week, and as they have done in years past, the Lions will open up some practices to the public. So here's the schedule if you want to plan a day off. The first open practices, Monday, July 29th, and Tuesday the 30th, and then Thursday, August 1st, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday of the following week. All of these practices at the Lions facility in Allen Park. The first exhibition game, by the way, Friday, August 9th, not that far away, at Ford Field against the Jets. A former Piston has landed a job. Free agent big man Jason Maxiell signs with the Orlando Magic. And while we're on the NBA, if you're a weekend athlete, you know it's all the rage now to wear compression shorts. Those tight-fitting nylon pants, you squeeze everything. I now have the answer why athletes wear those. Jordan Hamilton of the NBA's Denver Nuggets playing in a Summer League game. He drives to the hoop and he goes down. Now, you're going to need a closer look to see the value of compression shorts on his case pants. Sometimes during competition, your pants fall off. Well, if he didn't have compression pants on, that would have been very embarrassing, and that's the very reason I wear compression shorts when I do sports here at Local 4, because you never know what could happen when you get worked up.
And there's cameras everywhere.
Everything squeezed, you said?
Not everything, but a lot of it.
If it wasn't for the British Open, it's the lost week of sports, right? Brutal.
Well, and you sold it all week that you were mad at baseball for this, and it's true. We've wasted a whole week with just the All-Star.
Converts, one person at a time.
You won me over.
You and me, brother. Thanks so much for being with us for this extended edition Local 4 News at 11. Next news starts at 4:30 a.m. Local 4 News Morning.
And you're going to see the entire Tonight Show with Jay Leno coming up next. And remember, Local 4 News and weather updates are available 24 hours a day right here at clickondetroit.com. We'll see you tomorrow.